Next up, I wanted to introduce a really important topic, something that sounds like something that a lot of people here will care about, which is automating smart contract security. And so I wanted to introduce Chris Wong of Sec3, who's going to discuss how Sec3 can help you do that. So give a big round of applause for Chris.
All right, how's everybody doing? Great. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Wong from Sec3. This is my very first time to the Breakpoint. Very humbled, actually, to be given the stage here to share with you some of our thoughts regarding automating smart contract security. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I'd like to cover a few topics. First, why automating smart contract security is even important, given that we have security audits. I'll use two examples drawing from our own experience, hopefully to make a case for that. Then I'll list some of the existing solutions out there today in Solana ecosystem so you can use. And then most important to me today is I want to talk about security post-deployment. I want to make a case, hopefully convince you there's a really good opportunity to build a solid solution to define smart contract in real time, on-chain. And if time allows, I'll do a small demo. And afterwards, I want to talk about some of the limitations in some of the solutions I talked today. So, let's, before we get into the topic today, allow me to do a quick introduction about ourselves. So who is Sec3? What do we do? Sec3, all the letters in our name written in lowercase, actually, derives the name from two words, secure Web3. We are a security research firm. We focus on preparing Solana products like yours for millions of users. And for millions of users you are going to onboard in the future. What do we do? First, we provide a range of services around security audits. We can examine your smart contract. We can look at your front end. We can look at the whole thing. We even do security-related trainings and consulting as well. What is more relevant to today's talk, equally important for us, is that we're building a set of automated security tools for the system. So what are the tools? First, we have a command line based on-premise, so you can download to your computer, completely free. It's a vulnerability scanner. It's fast. It scans some of the most common vulnerabilities, such as overflow, underflow, account validation, so on and so forth. This is our first product in the ecosystem. I'm happy to report that this tool has been downloaded more than 30,000 times. The only reason I brought that number here today is it speaks volume about what a vibrant developers community we have in Solana. That's something to celebrate. We also have, we call it X-Ray. It's a software service security software platform. So you can use a web interface to upload your smart contract. We'll do the scan for you. Right now it covers over 50 types of security vulnerabilities, and we keep adding to it. And also, we're adding a few other components into the platform. This is what it looks like. Last piece is what we call Watchtower. It's a real-time threat monitor after you deploy your contract to the chain. So with the introduction out of the way, let's dive into the topic. So why automating security for smart contract is even important, especially given that most projects today, before they launch, they go through a security audit, or some projects even go through multiple audits. Excuse me. Oops. All right. But if you look at the product has lost funds in the past, despite they have gone through security audits, some have gone through multiple security audits, they still lost funds. By bringing up that, I don't get me wrong, by no means I'm assigning blame to auditors. As a matter of fact, Sec3, we do security audits as well. We know how valuable security audits do. It's invaluable work. And most auditors do excellent work. However, we're all humans. Humans make mistakes. Even a small mistake can open door for a big loss sometimes. And never before in history has so much value been directly attached to a piece of software. The key word here is directly. So that's why we believe tools are very important. Tools and humans are complementary to each other. There are things that humans find very difficult, but tools find quite easy. And humans are better in terms of ingenuity, creativity, and dealing with things unknown, and finding corner cases. But for tools, if within their capacity, they can do it consistently, they can do a very good job. The other reason is really scalability. And as we know, human experts like you guys are not very scalable. They tend to be very scarce, and they tend to be expensive. It takes time to grow for somebody to grow into an expert. Tools, on the other side, software is one of the most scalable things human being ever invented. So let me use maybe 2 examples to illustrate those points. First, I'll draw experience from our experience in building a checker into our X3 software. So this checker, there's this kind of vulnerabilities is so-called semantic inconsistency. I guess to explain it, and the core of it is really that 2 things or multiple things are associated logically, but they do not necessarily show up together in the same spot. If I can make an analogy, is that when you enter a dark room, you open the door, then you turn the lights. But the door and the lights may not be in the same location, they not be associated exactly timing. But logically, they're associated. If you find in your software one thing is missing, it's a red flag, something might be wrong. So this kind of issues is difficult for developers because they need to make a conscious effort to really dig into code, because those 2 things could be files apart or functions apart. But it's really good for tools to do that. So we actually built quite a few of this kind of checkers into our software. For example, we had a checker there to check when Sonata developers use Anchor framework. Sometimes they use this framework inconsistently across different spots. So we built these checkers to go through the code, go through every code path exhaustively to check for things, very consistent. So we have used these checkers. I mean, it's pretty popular, and we have used checkers to consistently finding issues that developers check. Another example is how we dog fooding X-ray. It's another piece of software, or it's a piece of software we're building. And we have a security audit team. Our team is the most avid and active user of our own software. Though our team and our tool work together, I think that closely working model make both our team and tool better, because every time our team finding a new type of issue, our development team is going to design a signature and build into our tool. And so our other team has the tool has better coverage. And as you use it more, they have chances to further validate those results, to say those results are true positive or false positives. And giving that feedback loop, the tool gets better. Our development team have chance to further validate the checkers and refine the algorithm and adding corner cases. So by working closely together, tools get better, our team gets better. So what can be automated? So this is the chart. If we look at this chart, I really separate the full life cycle of a protocol into 2 phases. The first phase is really development. You do a lot of coding, you try to build features, sometimes you do refactoring, you fix bugs. So there's a whole range of solutions right now out there that can help you do that. Development framework, scanners, linters, including our X-ray, testing, fuzzy frameworks, and help you to do tests. And some even go further to do formal verifications. And then there's another phase, which I will touch, which I'll discuss later in the presentation, is on-chain. Once you deploy your smart contract to the mainnet, what do you do? So here's a list of some of the solutions out there. The space moves very fast, and people are developing very hard in the space. So by no means, this is the exhaustive list. So if I missed something really interesting, please let me know. We're happy to learn as well. So on top of the list, I'll just mention a few. I'll highlight a few. On top of the list, there's Anchor. Anchor is a very useful framework. Not only Anchor greatly improve the developer's efficiency, but also Anchor does quite a few security checks for developers as well, so you don't have to do that. There's a VRust. Worth mentioning, VRust is open source. I wouldn't be complete if I don't mention that VRust, the major contributor to VRust, including one of our co-founders, Jeff, and his students. He's a professor in Texas A&M. VRust converts Rust source code into an intermediate representation, so-called IR, and then build an algorithm on top of that to check for security vulnerabilities. There's a paper to be published soon. I believe that open source code has been validated on over 100 Solana products, and the result is quite good. The tool discovered more than a dozen security vulnerabilities didn't service before, and at least 3 of them are critical. So I encourage everybody to check out that software, and even better, to be a contributor. On the testing side, I'll highlight NeoDAM's POC framework. NeoDAM's POC framework is an excellent tool to help you simulate in a local environment of your smart contract. Also, you can combine a scanner, such as X-ray, with NeoDAM's POC framework to drive to the bottom. So a scanner will give you a bunch of warnings, and for each one, you can easily and quickly, conveniently build a testing framework to try to explore it, to verify whether that warning is really true or not. There's also formal verification, which really means they're trying to use mathematic proofs to prove certain security attributes. I'll just give you one example. If you withdraw from account, the balance after the withdrawal should be mathematically proven to be sound, so you don't have a security issue there. Also, I like to mention that within the move prover, there's a very important component called Z3. One of our Tech3's co-founder, Nick, during his PhD work, he wrote a big portion of the Z3 solver. Then lastly is our watchtower and deal with on-chain threat monitoring. So I guess it's a good point. It's a good point to switch to post-development security, which I really like to spend some time to talk about. Once a smart contract is deployed on-chain, I think the security, at least in the past, becomes a game of more reactive and waiting for something to happen, more manual work. Have you ever wondered, is somebody trying to messing up with your smart contract at this very moment? Have you ever? Well, in that case, what can you do? What can we do about it? What can we do to build a defense system in real time for a smart contract already deployed out there? Is it possible to detect and stop attacks in real time? We believe the answer is yes. And I'll try to explain our reasoning from 2 aspects. First, let's do a quick review of what's in common for the past actual hacks. What do they have in common? What we can draw from them? For one, almost all hacks crafted one or more fake accounts. You need an account to supply data to Solana smart contract in order to manipulate. So you have to prepare that data. For two, almost all hacks involve multiple transactions. You need to prepare the data, you need to supply that data to the smart contract, you use that to manipulate smart contract, and gain some access control, and then withdraw funds in multiple steps. For three, it takes time, at least for a few minutes. And sometimes we have seen cases hours, even days. And that's a surprise to me when I first saw that number. In other words, there is enough time. There is enough time for you to detect it and do something about it. Another important aspect I hope to be able to build a case is Solana's unique programming model. Solana's programming model is rather unique in that it decouples data and code, unlike some of the other chains. Some other chains that the data is sometimes in the smart contract itself. This is very, very intuitive, easy to understand. Solana is different. This is actually has quite a bit of advantages. It enables many copies of your smart contract deal with different inputs, different data at the same time, running in parallel. So that's one of the key reasons why Solana has better throughput. But also, it has security implications. It can, from here, you have opportunity to build a better security system. So, as we discussed, attacker must do at least 2 steps to launch attack. Prepare the data and use that data, right? So this gives us the opportunity to be able to detect in step 1 when they prepare that data, and try to do something in step 2. So to do that, how do we do that? I guess, number 1, we have to monitor all on-chain activities and be able to tell the malicious activities from the normal ones. So we build this engine that we can continuously take in data from on-chain real time and then learn what is normal, what is abnormal. And we call it invariance. I'll give you a few examples. What is invariant? So for example, when a user interacts with a smart contract, it provided in that input, the force input account should always be essentially a pointer to the system program. If for some reason somebody supplied that account to a different program, that's a red flag. That breaks invariant, because that account should always be a system, should always point to a system account. Another example, even though this is one is more weaker one, is that if your users consistently in the past doing transactions less than 1,000 so, then all of a sudden, if somebody submitted an instruction to do transactions over 100,000, that's another big flag. So when a transaction or a series of transactions violate one invariant or multiple invariants, you can build a different degree, a various degree of confidence something is going on. I'll use a real attack as a case study to demonstrate the concept. This is a simplified real case. So it's just to illustrate the concept, so I took out some of the details. So on the left side is what a normal user interacts with that smart contract. Essentially, this is a deposit some tokens on chain 1, and then withdraw different tokens, but with the same value on chain 2. Okay. So the user first interact with the chain with the smart contract on Solana side is that they send and verify signature and associated payload. Payload is really a fancy word for the value of the token. Then you post that signature and payload with that smart contract. Then you transfer the payload. So it's 3 steps. Easy. That's when things are normal. What the monitor can learn from that, as the monitor keeps learning from that transactions, first, it learned, even without the source code, okay? So when users supply that instruction, the force account, it should always point to a system account, okay? And then the payload amount should match the other chain, because if you deposit X in the other chain, you should only be able to withdraw same value on Solana. Third, even though this is a weaker environment that we have learned over the transaction period, maximum payload is less than 1,000. Okay. And then in a real attack, what happens? Attacker actually supply the instruction, replace that system account pointer, and point to a smart contract the attacker launched. So in each of those steps, the monitor finds now the force account does not point to a system account anymore. That's a big no-no. That's a red flag. And then the value submitted does not match the other chain anymore. That's another red flag. If you wasn't sure in the first step, I think by now you should be very sure something's happening. You should do something about it. And then there's another, even though it's a weaker one, that the instruction submitted was to withdraw more than 100,000. That's a 2 degree of magnitude bigger. I'll do a small demo. This is a replay of the actual transaction. Okay? So the setup of the demo is that we'll play 100 transactions right before the attack happened. Okay? And our monitor in the background continuously learns about the environment. So set up the monitor system. Then when the attack actually happens, the system will alert you. There will be 3 alerts, each highlighted in red color. We intentionally made the font so small, so I wouldn't be able to see anything. I'm sure you are able to see everything. So you just have to trust my words of it. So the transaction gets played. There's 100 transactions. It's fast forwarding. And then the system starts learning. The system actually learned more invariants than the 3 invariants I talked about. Okay? And then that's the first alert. That's when the hacker supplied in their input a different pointer than the system program. That's the first alert. And then the second alert. Oh, no, this is the first one, sorry. This is the second one. This is the third one. Apply the same concept along the same way. We can build a lot more customized monitoring. In Sec3, we call it bots to do different things. In my mind, essentially, it's taking in data and apply certain domain knowledge. In our case, is security domain knowledge. And then process that data, extract useful information, and use that information to do something. We encourage the community to work with us, that we're just starting on this, and we'd like to hear from you what you'd like us to build for you. What are the things that can make your protocol more secure? And we have that domain knowledge. We hope to be able to work with you on those things to really understand your needs. So I have a little time left, so I'd like to go over this, is silver bullets. The solutions we talked about today, automated solutions for smart contract, are there silver bullets? In my opinion, there's very few silver bullets in life. Also in this case, I don't think there's any silver bullets. Almost all tools have limitations. There are things that tools can do, and there's the things tools cannot do. I'll just pick on ourselves in this case. So we have this scanner X-ray, it scans more than 50 types of security vulnerabilities. But here's a but. This type of scanners, assuming you have a dial, you can dial it all the way to the left, under which the tool will leave no doubts unreported. Essentially, you report everything suspicious, okay? Or you can dial the dial all the way to the right. In that case, the tool will only report to you there's a warning when the tool is 100% sure this is an issue. Which way you would prefer? It's a hard choice because either way there's pros and cons. I like to dial it to the left. That's where our tool is because security is important. Any small issues can lead to big loss, right? So we want to present to you everything we are suspicious of. So you can do some investigation and validations. But it takes work. It takes work. So some people don't like that. Some people don't like seeing 25 warnings, right? And after investigation, only find 5 issues. But in my opinion, even one issue is worth the effort. And also, every tool, it takes effort, takes resources, takes time to bring it fully into your workflow, into your system, to make it work for you. Again, I'm picking on our system called X3, is that we actually provided a range of user features for you to start using the tool and further validate it, customer to your needs, label those false positive so the tool learns. If on a stable code base, over time, if you put into the work, if you work with the tool, then you'll find the tool gets better and better. Tools knows your code base better and better. It generates better and better results. But the developers need to put in that work initially. So I'm a firm believer, we're a firm believer of tools, even though, as I said, we run 2 arms, we have security audit, at the same time we're building tools. We firmly believe each side is very important. Everybody should hopefully check out both to make both solutions work for you. I think I ran out of my time. Maybe have time for 1 or 2 questions, most. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Again, really appreciate that Solana bringing us all together here in this great event.
Thank you for the talk.
Please.
I was curious if it is an option to hard code the accounts in the program code so that whenever a function is called, you can verify. Let's say in the case when the accounts are predefined.
You mean hard code it?
Yeah, so let's say like we first deploy a program, then create an account, and then redeploy it with the account ID hard-coded.
Yeah, I think that's just a different programming model, is that in that model you put the code itself in the smart contract. Again, Solana is a different programming model, which I think is a better programming model, is that it's not a hard-coded number. It's a user supply input. All data in Solana smart contract are provided as inputs, all data. So that's just a programming model. So you can have many copies of using different inputs, but the correct input. So, and run your smart contract in parallel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. So you were saying your automated tools could scan and detect potential vulnerabilities and attacks happening. So like if your tools detect an attack's happening on a program, what exactly would the maintainers of that program be able to do in the short time that they have to potentially stop the exploit and attack from happening?
Yeah. I guess the question is, let me just repeat the question. The question is that in the case you detected something is happening, what can you do about it, right? I guess there are multiple ways. I'm just thinking aloud. I guess we're still developing solutions, really working with protocols and products on those kind of things. One idea is that we just provide an API, right? it's up to you to decide what do you want to do about it, right? You can have a kill switch, you can abort it, you can freeze it, you can do all sorts of things, right? So it's really up to you. Or what we can do is that potentially a on-chain smart contract, so to process that, and generate that signal, and use some sort of multi-sig mechanism to work with the protocol to do something about it. Right? There's just, I guess, it's not an exhaustive list. There's some other ideas that we'll also be considering as well. Yeah. I think I ran out of my time. Apologize. Right on time. So, thanks so much for listening. Appreciate it.